Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation and last and final part to Little Izuku and the League of Villains. The next afternoon, Izuku peacefully is swinging his legs with a happy smile on a bar stool, Tomura watching the TV. It appears the principal offenders of the UA High training camp called themselves the League of Villains Vanguard Action Squad. For UA High, in both the USJ incident and the Hosu incident, the name League of Villains, Tomura changed the channel. Among the victims of the training camp attack was the child of the pro-heroes Water Hose, who were killed by Muscular. We must conclude that there was some sort of problem with the management of UA High. Even if my child wanted to become a hero, I couldn't possibly enroll. The TV chatter abruptly ended, and Tomura laughed lightly. I'm really grateful for all the publicity we've been getting, Tomura said amusedly. Izuku looked up to see every person in the room staring at the three heroic students. Don't you agree? His eyes slid from one to the next. Bakugo Katsuki, Todoroki Shoto, Kendo Itsuka. Izuku smothered a giggle with a hand. Bakugo glared, lips parted in a soundless snarl. Shoto's face was blank, eyes only trained on Izuku. Kendo looked terrified. You don't need to be scared, Izuku reassured her. Tomura won't hurt you. Izuku sent Tomura a beaming smile and laughed as the man ruffled his hair with three-fingered fondness. Izuku couldn't sleep, and he found himself sitting on the floor in front of the three hostages. Compress was in the corner, watching, but he didn't say anything, so Izuku just waved. What are you doing up, Izuku? Shoto's voice whispered, thick with sleep. I'm thinking. Izuku placed his chin on his knees. What are you thinking about? Mura says I was a UA student when I was older. Shoto seemed to straighten, blinking away tiredness as rapidly as he could. That means I must have a quirk. You said you get treated badly because you don't have one, right? Izuku nodded to the boy. What is it? Izuku asked, eyes sad as he looked at the boy. What's my quirk? It's a power-up type, Shoto informed him. At the beginning of the year, you had so much power that you shattered the bones in your arms and fingers when you used it. Did I manage to train that away? Izuku made a face and Shoto huffed. Yeah, you did. Recently, you started spreading the power through your whole body. You glow green, like lightning around you. Shoto smiled softly. You're actually the reason I remembered why I wanted to be a hero. We fought in the sports festival, and you saved me. You must be sad, because I'm little again. Izuku smiled sadly. Because I'm useless again. Quirkless. I think you're the same as you always were. Quirkless or not, Shoto assured him. You were so passionate about saving everyone. I can see that in you. You're still Midoriya. Izuku giggled. Sometimes, I think my older self never got the chance to really meet Mura, Izuku admitted. The League, they have these goals. People don't see them because they focus on Tomura's actions and they ignore his words. I wonder what older me would say if he was here. Izuku trailed off. I wonder that too, Shoto murmured. Izuku pushed off the floor. Good night, Shoto, he said with a wave as he left the room. Good night, Izuku. The morning after that, Tomura was once again watching the news. Izuku sat on the floor at Shoto's feet. The boy's feet weren't touching the floor. His knees propped up, and Izuku wondered if that meant Shoto could use his feet for his quirk. Izuku glanced back at the TV. This time, UA was on screen. We deeply apologize for the incident that allowed harm to come to 8 first-year students of the Hero course because of our unpreparedness, a man was saying. We apologize for causing unease in society due to our negligence in properly defending ourselves as a place of learning. We are truly sorry. The 3 people on screen bowed. Who are they? Izuku whispered to Shoto. Aizawa-sensei, Vlad-sensei, and the principal, Shoto whispered back. Eraserhead, Vlad King, and Nezu? Izuku checked. He received a nod, and Izuku turned back to the TV. I'm from Yomiuri TV, a male voice rang out. Since the beginning of the year, UA high school students have had 4 encounters with villains. Whoa, really, Tomura? Izuku exclaimed. The man just grinned. This time, there were even students injured. How did you explain to their families, and what are some specific countermeasures you are taking? The reporter finished. We will increase policing in the surrounding area and review the security within the school, ensuring the students' safety with a strong position, the principal, Nezu, said calmly. That is what we told them. As Eraserhead's face showed back up, Tomura clicked the TV off. It's so strange, Tomura started. Izuku settled further into his spot on the floor. Tomura spread his arms out widely. Why are the heroes being criticized? The way they were dealing with things was just a little off the mark. Is it because it's their job to protect? Everyone makes a mistake or two. Are they supposed to be perfect? Tomura sighed. Modern-day heroes are so uptight. Don't you think? Izuku released a giggle, remembering when Tomura said that to him, and the hero students remained silent. Once heroes receive compensation to protect people, they aren't heroes anymore, Spinner said passionately. That is Stain's teaching. The strange system of transforming people's lives into money or glory. The society that sticks tight to those rules. The citizens who blame the losers rather than encourage them. Our fight is to question, what is a hero? What is justice? Is this society truly just? We'll have everyone thinking about it. We plan on winning. Tomura paused. Dabi, release their restraints. Huh? They're going to fight, you know. Dabi raised an eyebrow. Izuku stood and made his way to stand by Tomura's seat. It's fine. We need to treat them like equals, since we're scouting them, Tomura said, before he looked down as Izuku tugged on his shirt. Don't let Kachan out. His hands are dangerous, Izuku warned. The memories had been swirling around in his head, and he'd made some sense of them finally. He explodes his sweat, and his quirk is more dangerous the warmer it is. His hands have been trapped in those since he got here. Izuku pointed at the huge metal traps completely consuming both hands. He's definitely built up enough to hurt you. Please don't. Nobody moved, but Bakugo growled, a low voice in his throat radiating from his chest, and Izuku shivered. Okay, Squirt. He stays restrained. Tomura sighed. Izuku beamed. Dabi, release the other 2. And if they fight? Dabi asked irritably. They should be able to tell if they'll win or not if they fight. Right, UA students? Tomura picked Izuku up, who blinked in surprise and plopped the boy in his lap. Especially with their friend on the line. Right, Izuku? Izuku laughed, and Dabi walked forward, cautiously glaring at Shoto. I do apologize for using such forceful methods, Compress said from his spot in the corner. But please understand that we are not just a mob trying to commit crimes. As Izuku mentioned, we have a goal to accomplish. Dabi finished with Shoto and moved to Kendo. Even though our situations differ, everyone here has been restricted and suffered because of people, rules, and heroes. Kendo and Shoto were both free, Kendo rubbing her wrists and Shoto just staring at Izuku in Tomura's arms. Izuku looked up at Tomura, unable to really see the man behind the hand on his face. "Mura, can we finish the broadcast from UA?" Izuku asked. Tomura nodded. "Sure, Izuku, as long as your friends stay right where they are." Tomura reached for the remote, and Izuku turned to the two untied hero students with a smile. "We're going to put your teachers on screen. Is that okay?" Shoto nodded very slowly, and Kendo seemed completely frozen. "You'll need to stay right there, though." "Sure, Izuku," Shoto said blankly. "We'll stay right here." Izuku nodded happily and turned as Tomura clicked the TV back on. "You spoke of the students' safety, Eraserhead," the reporter was saying. "During the incident, you and Vlad King were both completely unaware of the attack until after the incident was practically over. Can you explain how this happened?" Eraserhead was leaning forward in his seat, no longer standing like before. "Vlad King and I were teaching the students who failed their exams separately, letting the Pussycats handle the other students," Eraserhead said seriously, sort of glaring at the camera. "Through reports from student witnesses, we concluded there were 10 villains total, with 2 arrested. Vlad and myself were unaware at the time, due to the villains working in stealth while removing the instant one-sided communication Mandalay provided. A villain came to us alone, and that was when we discovered the attack." "You lost 3 students and 3 heroes during the attack," the reporter pressed. "As well as that, there have been rumors that Midoriya Izuku was sighted there, having sided with the villains. Is it possible that UA not only allowed their students to be attacked 4 times, but let 1 defect and have 3 kidnapped?" "The remaining 31 students are uninjured," Nezu cut in. "The gas attack accounts for all of the student victims aside from the missing ones. We have determined that it was a sleeping gas from one of the enemy's quirks. In addition, we are providing mental care to the students, but at the moment, we do not see any signs of serious psychological trauma." "Are you saying that it was a bright spot in this tragedy?" the reporter asked harshly. "We believe that the worst possible outcome is one that would infringe on the future," Nezu placated. The reporter took a breath. "Can you say the same for the kidnapped Bakugo? He enrolled at UA with excellent marks and won the sports festival. In addition, during the incident with the sludge villain in middle school, he resisted the powerful villain alone, so he has a history of showing how tough and heroic he can be. On the other hand, the violence in the finals and his attitude at the awards ceremony show that he is not always very stable mentally. What if the villains kidnapped him because they had an eye on that? What if they did so with the other kidnapped students for different reasons? Kidnapping them with deceitful words and dyeing them with the path of evil? What if it has already worked with Midoriya Izuku? What evidence is there that any of them have a future?" Eraserhead's face darkened, glare sharpening, and he stood. "As an educator, I take full responsibility for Bakugo Katsuki's violent behavior." Eraserhead bowed. "However, his actions at the sports festival originated in what he considers ideal strength. If villains saw that and thought that they had an opening, then I believe they were being short-sighted. As for the others, Kendo is not one of my students, but she is a promising young hero student who tries her best to stand amongst the best at UA High. Todoroki is talented in his own right and has come a long way since the beginning of the year, and holds firm in his ideals." Eraserhead looked up, eyes burning into the camera. "Midoriya Izuku is one of UA's brightest, and is trying harder than anyone to become a hero, and I believe there is no possibility he has joined the enemy side." "That is not evidence, though," the reporter denied. "This isn't a question of how you feel. I'm asking whether or not you have a concrete plan in place." "We are not just standing around idly," Nezu answered. "We are currently investigating along with the police. We will definitely get our students back." Tomura clicked off the TV. "That hero," Izuku said, eyes on the dark and empty TV. "He doesn't understand, does he, Mura?" Izuku looked up at Tomura, who nodded slightly and patted his head. No, he doesn't. Tomura then sighed. The heroes are confident and investigating. We don't have time to talk leisurely anymore. Sensei. Izuku eyed the man curiously as he leaned back to face the hidden screen that Izuku hadn't ever really noticed before. Lend me your power. Sensei. Izuku perked up. You have another leader, Shoto murmured. Mura, who's Sensei? Izuku asked curiously. Then everyone paused, glancing at the door, at the 3 rhythmic knocks. Hello, this is Pizza La Kamino store, a voice said from outside. Izuku leaned into Tomura, bunching both hands in the fabric of the man's shirt. Smash! The wall exploded, All Might crashing through behind Spinner and Dabi. Izuku shrieked, and Tomura buried Izuku's face in his chest. What? Spinner yelled. Kurogiri, gate, Tomura ordered, clutching Izuku. Preemptive binding. Izuku was ripped from Tomura and suddenly wrapped in identical wooden restraints. Lacquered chain prison. A tree? What the heck? Dabi lit his arms on fire, only to be kicked in the face and knocked unconscious by a yellow-caped hero jumping out in a blur. Dabi! Izuku cried out. Don't be impatient, the old hero scolded. It'd be in your best interest to stay put. Just what I'd expect from one of the most competent new heroes around, Kamui Woods, and the veteran faster than the eye can see, Gran Torino, All Might declared. You can't run anymore, League of Villains. Why? Because we are here. Right after the press conference. Don't tell me this was prearranged, Compress exclaimed from the floor. Tree Man, stop pulling me. Push, Twice complained. No, no, Toga cried out. Please, stop hurting them, Izuku shrieked, struggling. When one is on the offensive is when one neglects defense most. Another hero entered. Edge shot. We're not the only ones here from Pizza La Kamino store. He opened the door to reveal heavily armed and armored police. Outside, you're surrounded by skillful heroes like Endeavor and the police. All Might stood from his dramatic, crouched position. I'm sure you 3 were scared. You did good bearing it. All Might walked over and yanked Kachan's chains off him, leaving Kachan rubbing his wrists like Kendo had. I'm sorry. It's fine now, kids. Kamui Woods, release young Midoriya. Izuku felt the wood around him snake away, and he fell about a foot to the floor with a small shriek. Izuku scrambled to his right, throwing himself over Tomura's imprisoned form. No! You can't have Mura! Izuku dug his fingers into Tomura's binds. He saved me! You can't take him away! Tears welled in his eyes, and he squeezed them shut. After we went through all the trouble to prepare this, Izuku sniffed, opening his eyes to see Tomura's one visible eye glaring at All Might. Why are you coming to me, you last boss? Tomura paused. It can't be helped. We're not the only ones here. The same goes for us. Kurogiri, bring as many as you can over. No moves, I presume? All Might leaned forward. What's the matter, Kurogiri? Shigaraki demanded when nothing happened. I'm sorry, Shigaraki Tomura. The Nomus that were supposed to be at a fixed location are not there. Kurogiri gritted out as if in pain. Huh? Tomura gasped. You are still green, Shigaraki. Izuku looked up at All Might, who had placed a hand on Kendo's shoulder protectively. She looked like she was sagging in relief, while Kachan looked ready to murder someone, and Shoto was just staring at Izuku. Huh, Tomura said again, this time angry and voice flat. League of Villains, you underestimated everything too much. The souls of young students, the diligent investigations of the police, and our anger, All Might declared, smiling the whole way. "That's enough of the childish pranks. This is the end, Shigaraki Tomura." "All Might," Spinner shrieked. "This is the hero acknowledged by Stain." "The end, you say?" Tomura muttered. Izuku dug his fingers in harder, as if his tiny fingers would make a difference against the thick wooden restraints. "Don't be ridiculous. I've only just begun." Tomura started shifting, moving his spines, and Izuku gasped and stayed sitting on the floor as Tomura stood. "Justice. Peace. I'll destroy this garbage heap that you put a lid on with these vague ideas. It was for that purpose that I set All Might apart and started gathering people to my cause. Don't be ridiculous. This is the beginning. Kurogiri." As soon as Tomura finished speaking, Kurogiri was impaled by something red and thick. Magne shrieked at the same time Izuku screamed. "No! Stop!" she begged. "I can't see. What? Did you kill him?" "Please, you can't!" Izuku cried, tears finally falling. "I played around with his insides and made him unconscious. He is not dead," Edshot declared. "Nimpo, 1,000-sheet Pierce. This man was always a nuisance. I'll have him sleep." He said it with such distaste, such anger. Izuku couldn't help but glare. "He is not a nuisance!" Izuku cried, seething inside as he glared up at the heroes. "He's my friend! You don't even know him!" "Hikishi Kenji," Magne gasped as the yellow hero began eyeing her. "Sato Atsuhiro," Compress. "Iguchi Shuichi," Spinner. "Toga Himiko, Bubaigawara Jin," twice. "With little information and time, the police officers worked through the night to determine your true identities. They missed Dabi. Do you understand? There's nowhere left for you to run." He then turned to Shigaraki, who was still standing with a teary-eyed Izuku at his feet. "Hey, Shigaraki, can I ask you where your boss is?" "This is unsatisfying. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous." Izuku hugged one of Tomura's legs as the man seemed to be falling apart. "Where is he right now?" All Might said, barely smiling. "Go away. Disappear." All Might's smile went down, a grimace of anger in its place. "Shigaraki!" he yelled as Tomura screamed. "I hate you!" And then, to Izuku's immense surprise, 2 gooey portals open to reveal screaming monsters with exposed brains. Izuku clutched Tomura's leg harder. "Nomus! They came from nowhere!" Kamui Woods exclaimed. "What is that?" "Edshot, what about Kurogiri?" the old hero yelled. "He's still unconscious," Edshot reported. "He didn't do it." "They just keep coming," the old hero said tightly as more goopy portals opened and more brain-exposed heads appeared. "Kamui Woods, do not let them go under any circumstances," All Might ordered, a finger pointed at the wooden hero. "Yes, sir," Izuku heard, and then choked, goo sputtering out of his mouth and consuming him. He landed on his knees, coughing and choking. "Damn it!" A voice rang through the space with coughing. Izuku gasped for breath, seeing the 3 hero students standing in front of an ominous-looking man in an odd sort of helmet. "What the hell?" Kachan coughed out. Izuku realized he was somewhere else entirely, somewhere that looked sort of exploded. "Sorry, you 4. "Huh?" Kachan yelled. A swoosh went off behind Izuku, and Tomura and the rest of the league appeared. Spinner was on his hands and knees, throwing up nothing and panting. Toga was standing, at least, but she had a hand over her mouth. "What the?" she whined, looking a little green. "Something stinks. Smells good," Twice exclaimed in his 2 voices. Compress and Magne stood as if ready to fight, and Kurogiri was prone on the ground like Dabi. They were all behind him in a half-circle, Tomura landing on his knees in front of Izuku. "Sensei." Tomura leaned forward a little. "You failed again, huh, Tomura?" The masked man spoke calmly. He walked forward, right past where the 3 hero students were frozen. "But do not be discouraged. Just try again. I have brought your associates back as well. Even this child, because you are so fond of him." The man gestured to Izuku, who clutched the back of Tomura's shirt. "These children as well," the villain added calmly about the hero students. He came to a stop, right in front of Tomura, and held out a hand. "Do it over as many times as you need to. That is why I am here. It's all for you." Izuku shook slightly, both hands holding onto Tomura's shirt, eyes still damp. He didn't want to lose Tomura. He didn't want to be abandoned and alone again. "You're here after all, aren't you?" the man said after a moment, seemingly to himself. Then, out of nowhere, the man was slammed into, All Might having fallen from the sky. And the masked man was holding All Might in place with just his 2 hands. "I'll have you return my students, all for one," All Might yelled. "Will you kill me again, All Might?" The masked man sounded a touch sarcastic and a lot amused. The ground under the villain, all for one, cracked and shattered. Chunks seemed to levitate, dust plumed, and then the force knocked the League back and off their feet. Izuku cried out, and he could hear Toga's cries of distress as well. The League all made noises of discomfort as they were tossed off their feet, and Izuku lost his grip on Tomura as they were blown back. Izuku tumbled, coughing on dust as he found himself lying on his stomach. "You're pretty late," All for One said conversationally, as if he wasn't fighting All Might. "It's a little more than 5 kilometers from the bar to here. It was easily 30 seconds after I released the no-moves before you arrived. You've gotten weaker, All Might." "What about you? What's with that industrial mask you've got on? Aren't you overexerting yourself?" All Might said, standing. Had he been blown off his feet too? All Might started hopping in place on 1 foot. "I won't make the same mistakes as I did 6 years ago, all for one." All Might stopped hopping. "I will take these 3 young hero students back, save young Midoriya, and this time I will throw you in prison for sure, and all the League of Villains you control with you." All Might lunged, and All for One extended a single hand. "There's so much to do. It'll be tough." His arm seemed to wrap and grow unnaturally, red lightning crackling around his one arm. "For both of us." All Might was blown backwards, slamming through several buildings and down a couple blocks. Izuku gasped. The power. Air cannon, plus spring-like limbs, kinetic booster times 4, strength enhancer times 3. This combination is fun. Maybe I'll add a few more enhancer types. "All Might!" Kachan yelled. Kendo looked frozen with terror, and Shoto was pale, face covered with shock. "Even without your worry, he won't die from something like that." All for One chided the students. "So run far away from here, Tomura, and take those children with you." Tomura reached for his sensei, Izuku pushing himself to a sitting position a few feet away, and All for One raised a hand as his fingers turned black and red at the ends. They extended, shooting out like Kamui Woods' had, and stabbed right into Kurogiri. "Kurogiri, get everyone away from here," he ordered the unconscious portal user. "Hey, wait! He was defeated and is now unconscious," Magne exclaimed, as the red and black stabby things made Kurogiri's body jerk around. "I'm not sure what's going on, but if you can use warp, then you should get us away." "I just got mine, Magne," All for One said evenly. On top of only being able to transport short distances, unlike his coordinates-based transport, I can only bring people to me or away from me, and I can only send them away to someone I am very familiar with. so I'll have Kurogiri do it." The villains all glanced at each other, and then purple warp exploded out of Kurogiri's body. Izuku gasped. "Forcible quirk activation. Now go." "What about you?" Tomura asked All For One, voice soft. He then jerked, gasping, as All Might flew out of the rubble in a stream of dust clouds. All For One then pushed a little upwards and began to fly. "Think constantly, Tomura," All For One's masked voice rang. "You still have much more room to grow." "I won't let you get away!" All Might slammed down a fist, and Izuku shielded his eyes from the resulting shockwave. "Sensei." Izuku looked at Tomura, who was staring up towards his teacher, and didn't know what to do. How could Izuku help? What could he do? "Let's go, Shigaraki, while that pipe mask is holding All Might back," Compress yelled. Izuku watched him marble Dabi, and then every person in their group got to their feet. "Grab Izuku and Todoroki, forget the other two, and let's go." Izuku went to stand, wiping his eyes, but his arm was grabbed and he was yanked sharply by a cold hand. Izuku cried out, which made the whole league turn their full attention to him, and was dragged backwards. "Ugh, what a pain," Kachan said, lowering himself into a crouch. Kendo had a determined face, but it was full of fear. Shoto was the one who had a hand on Izuku, picking him up by the waist. "Mura!" Izuku leaned forward, hands outstretched, but Shoto was holding his torso firmly. The league charged, attacking Kachan and Kendo as Shoto backed up with Izuku in his arms. Twice snapped out his tape measure, Kachan dodging with a grimace. Toga lunged with her knife, Kendo swatting her away with a huge slap. Compress came running for Shoto, but Kachan let off 2 huge explosions right in his face. "Compress!" Izuku shrieked, wiggling. The boy's hold on him shifted, flipping him around and burying Izuku's face in his shoulder, clutching Izuku to his chest. "Bakugo, let's go," Shoto yelled. He stomped a foot, and a wall of solid ice was suddenly standing between the hero students and the villains. Izuku gasped, stilling with surprise. "Kendo, come on!" Shoto started running, and then sliding on ice as Kachan exploded upwards and after Shoto, Kendo running after them. "Mura!" Izuku screamed. "Tomura!" Over Shoto's shoulder, Izuku saw All For One throw the red and black spikes out, only for All Might to spam a punch into the side of his arm and send the man into a wall. Shoto kept sliding, Izuku in his arms with his classmates behind him, until they were blocks and blocks away. Izuku shook as Shoto ran, hiding his face and pressing it into the boy's left shoulder, eyes wide and disbelieving. The league was... He'd been stolen. He didn't know if they... Izuku pressed a hand to his mouth, but he couldn't stop the sobs that racked his body. He squeezed his eyes shut as he cried, hoping it was a dream, that he wasn't being taken away from the only place he'd felt the most cared for and protected, from the people who were like him and were saved, same as he was, and that he would wake up and be able to demand a hug from Tomura to feel better. But it wasn't a dream. He knew that. Izuku knew that as Shoto's feet pounded on concrete and every step radiated through Izuku's skull. He knew that as his tears soaked into the boy's shirt. He knew that as warm arms pressed him closer into Shoto's chest. It wasn't a dream, and he had been stolen. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Shoto's stream of quiet and devastated apologies filtered through his ears, in one side and out the other. Izuku's hand tightened in his shirt. If he was sorry, why did he do it? Why did he take Izuku? Why couldn't they have both just stayed? Izuku choked on tears, sobbing and alone. He clenched Shoto's shirt and tried to breathe. "We need to follow the evacuation instructions," Izuku heard Kendo say. "Shut up," Kachan yelled. "I know." "Bakugo, this isn't the time. We need to get Midoriya somewhere safe," Shoto interrupted. We need to tell the pros we're not hostages anymore." "Please let me go," Izuku whispered, tears finally slowing. "Please, please let me go." "Izuku, I can't," Shoto said softly. "I needed to get you away from the fighting. This was the best way. And you can't go back to the League right now. Understand? That man, their leader, he probably got them out, okay?" Izuku curled further into Shoto, trying to hide from the truth. "I know," Izuku choked out. "I don't want to be alone again." Shoto's hands on him tightened. "You won't be alone, I promise," he said firmly. "That's a police officer!" Kendo cried in relief. "Hey! Hey!" Izuku didn't see, but he heard her footsteps running away with Shoto and Kachan running after her. "I'm Kendo Itsuka, okay? And this is Todoroki Shoto, Bakugo Katsuki, and Midoriya Izuku. We escaped, and we need to tell the heroes we're all safe," she was saying quickly. "I understand. I'll call Tsukauchi. He's in charge, and he can let everyone know. Don't move, kids. They'll send someone to collect you." A deep voice placated the panic in the girl's rushed explanation. "The heroes will hurt me," Izuku mumbled into Shoto's shoulder. "What? Why do you think that?" Shoto asked, an odd inflection in his voice. "Because I helped Tomura, even though I'm a hero student, and Eraserhead believed in me," Izuku whispered. "Because that's what heroes do. They don't go easy on villains, and that's what they think I am. A villain. A villain for Tartarus, just like the League." "I won't let them." The hands on him shifted, bringing Izuku away from Shoto's shoulder so that they could look each other in the face. Izuku's teary green eyes on Shoto's heterochromatic ones. "You don't deserve Tartarus, and you won't be punished, okay?" Izuku couldn't bring himself to believe him. "I'll save you. From them, if I have to." "From the heroes?" Izuku asked, eyes huge. "If they try to throw a 7-year-old version of my best friend in Tartarus, yes, no hesitation." Shoto's eyes were serious, and Izuku nodded slowly. "Okay," he whispered. Izuku leaned forward, placing his face once again against Shoto's shoulder, this time to close his eyes. "Don't let them take me away, Shoto." A hand gently caressed Izuku's curls. "I won't. You won't be alone, I promise." When Izuku woke up, he squinted into the light. He rolled over, trying to make the light dimmer, but something beeped, loudly. Izuku gasped and sat up as straight as possible. He was alone? Hey, Izuku, you're okay." Izuku turned panicked eyes to see Shoto standing up from a chair by the wall and moving to sit on the side of the bed. "It's fine. You're not alone. This is a hospital." Shoto took one of his hands, and Izuku tried to breathe. "Tomura?" Izuku felt tears threatening to spill, and Shoto released his hand to give him a cup of water from the nearby end stand. "Shigaraki and the entire League got away, except for Sensei. He was arrested by All Might the same night we escaped." Shoto summed up as he watched Izuku sip the water. "After you fell asleep, a group of around 10 police officers escorted us to the nearest station, and then they transferred us to the hero ward of the nearest hospital. That's where you are now. Bakugo, Kendo, and I were all cleared and given permission to leave. You're still here because they're trying to figure out what specifically made you smaller than you used to be." "Younger," Izuku corrected softly. "I think it was a quirk. I woke up in the mall, and I don't have anything from before that, like why I was even at the mall, or why I woke up." Shoto frowned. "The class went to the mall as a group, apart from Bakugo and myself. Uraraka said she left you alone, but when she came back to find you, you'd moved," Shoto recited. "They said they searched the mall within an hour of when you'd last been seen, but there wasn't any evidence of you." "I talked to 2 people," Izuku said thoughtfully. A man on the phone, and he told me he didn't want to help lost kids. Told me to run along, or something. The woman I approached had 3 kids, and she assumed I was pranking her. Izuku frowned. She said a 7-year-old should remember their parents, and if I wasn't a prank, I should just get someone else to help me. Shoto seemed to glare a hole into the part of the bed he was staring at, but he nodded. That'd probably account for 20 minutes max. And then you left. Izuku nodded. Well, I went outside, he said. I collapsed outside, and I was crying and breathing really fast, and I thought nobody would come to help me, but Tomura did. Izuku didn't even notice the cup in his hand was empty until Shoto took it from him. Izuku blinked. Izuku, this is serious, and I need you to pay attention for a moment, Shoto said, placing the empty cup on the end stand. Okay. Izuku brought his knees to his chest and fell silent obediently. At the camp attack, one of the villains claimed they de-aged you, and then used you to plan their evil plans. You remember that? Izuku nodded. They were part of the distraction team with me, to protect the extraction team. Shoto nodded stoically at Izuku's words. Right. Anyway, the heroes believe you helped the villains against your will because they made you younger. Izuku frowned but didn't interrupt. Kendo and Bakugo both already gave their statements, and so did I. They both said you seemed happy among the villains and even advocated for them. Anyway, that's what the heroes and police know. I don't know if they want to punish you, but that's all the information they have. You can tell them whatever you want, okay? And I'll just make sure they don't do anything bad. His eyes glittered with determination. With your quirk? Izuku tilted his head. I bet you could freeze the whole room, smash the window, and then create a slide all the way down to the bottom. You'd have to melt it away, of course, so the police can't follow. Shoto gave Izuku a tiny smile that made Izuku beam. You have a nice smile, Izuku complimented. And you are a little genius, Shoto replied. Yes, I'll protect you with my quirk if I have to. For example, if they try to drag you out of here right this minute to Tartarus, obviously I can't let that stand. Or, if they treat you like a threat and draw weapons or use quirks, I'll stop them. However, I don't think it'll come to that. They'll just talk to you and ask some questions, and then they'll thank you and leave. Don't worry about it. Izuku gave the boy a wobbly smile, and then jumped slightly when the door slid open. Ah, Midoriya, it's good to see you awake. It was a man in a white coat. You have 2 visitors. Would you like to see them? You can be honest. No, but they can come in anyway. Izuku scooted over, looked to Shoto, and patted the bed. The boy blinked slowly, but then he came and sat on the bed on top of the covers. Izuku then climbed over Shoto's legs and settled on the boy's lap. When Izuku was done, he looked up to see that the 2 guests had taken 2 seats near the wall. Midoriya, I'm Detective Tsukauchi. Izuku waved shyly. Hi, I'm Izuku. Izuku shrank back a little, leaning into Shoto's chest. We're here to ask you a few questions. Some of them might seem random or pointless to you, but please answer all of them to the best of your ability, okay? The detective smiled at him, the cat-headed officer remaining silent at his side. Okay, Izuku whispered. First, I'm legally required to inform you that my quirk is called True Man, and it's also my police alias. It allows me to tell when someone is lying. Izuku nodded slowly, withholding a million questions, and grabbed Shoto's right sleeve to play with. What's the first thing you remember? First thing recently or first thing a long time ago? Izuku asked without looking up from Shoto's sleeve. Is there a difference? Izuku frowned. Of course there is. I used to be older, and now I'm younger. I remember being even younger than this, but not older. The recent first thing is not all the same as the first thing a long time ago. I understand. I apologize." The detective placated. Izuku huffed. "So, how about the last thing you remember recently?" "I was at the mall," Izuku said, finding a loose string in Shoto's sleeve and yanking on it. "I woke up, and everything was loud and there were people everywhere, and I could only remember my name and what my quirk was. I sort of remembered my age, but not really. So I went looking for an adult." The string unraveled, the stitching along the sleeve coming undone, and Izuku smiled slightly. "Two of them told me to go away, a man on the phone and a woman with her children. I went outside. I started crying, and then Mura found me. He saved me." Izuku felt his smile drop at the thought of Mura, and he fell silent. "Can you tell me about the escape, from the bar and from the second warehouse location?" "We didn't escape," Izuku denied. "Mura's sensei retrieved us with his new warp quirk. It brings people to him, or it sends people very far away to someone he's very familiar with. It's a cool quirk, but the drawback for the people he warps is gross. It tasted like sewer water, and it felt like coughing up jello." Izuku paused, trying to get back on track. "At the second location, I didn't do anything. Shoto grabbed me, and then he carried me as he and the hero students ran away. He created a huge glacier, not as huge as the one he did the first time I saw him at the camp attack. That one was so big, it completely blocked our exit between 1 second and the next. Compress was with me then." Izuku trailed off again, the thought of the League slamming into his brain with the reminder that he was stolen from them. Stolen by the heroes. "Thank you, Midoriya," the detective said. "Another question. What's your relationship with the League of Villains and their leader, Shigaraki Tomura?" Izuku sighed. The man had a truth quirk. "Mura saved me. He is my hero." Izuku smiled as he found another string on Shoto's shirt to pull. "Dabi is good too. I helped him fix his quirk twice." "Fix his quirk?" The detective cut in. "How did you do that?" Izuku wilted, releasing Shoto's sleeve and turning halfway to hide his face in Shoto's shoulder. "Midoriya?" "No," Izuku said, voice muffled by Shoto's shirt. "Midoriya, what was wrong with his quirk?" the detective repeated lightly. "I don't want to tell you, and you can't make me," Izuku said firmly into Shoto's shoulder. "Quirks are personal, and you'd use the information to hurt them." "No, of course we wouldn't," the detective denied soothingly. Just because your quirk tells you when something is a lie doesn't mean it prevents you from lying," Izuku exclaimed. He then lifted his face and turned to glare directly at the man, who was watching him blankly. "You said the quirk tells you when someone's lying, which means it doesn't notify you when someone tells the truth. Or in contrast, it only tells you when someone tells the truth. Coaxing the truth out of someone is different, and you can't do it. That would have to involve a confession quirk, which you very obviously don't have." Izuku lessened his glare, gave one last huff, and he went back to playing with Shoto's sleeve. "Nobody can make me reveal their secrets. You can't force me." There was a silence for a moment, until the detective stood, and the officer followed suit. "Thank you, Midoriya," the detective said finally. "We'll be on our way." Izuku didn't deign them with a response as they left and slid the door shut behind them. "You okay, Izuku?" Shoto asked softly. Izuku's only answer was to flip all the way over and firmly bury his face in Shoto's chest. "Ah, I see." Izuku rose to consciousness slowly, blinking uncomfortably as his muscles were aching. Where was he? Wasn't he at the mall? Izuku shot up in bed, sitting straight up with a gasp. He was 15 again. He was a first year at UA with One for All. "Izuku?" Izuku glanced to the side to see Todoroki had dozed off in his chair, with his face resting on Izuku's bed. The boy froze as he made eye contact with Izuku, and then bolted upright like Izuku had. "Midoriya!" "Todoroki!" Izuku blinked. "Oh my god, I am so dead. He buried his face in his hands, his muscular, 15-year-old, scarred hands, and sighed. They can't throw a 7-year-old in Tartarus, but a 15-year-old. A hand landed on his shoulder, and Izuku looked up with a sharp inhale. Izuku, breathe, Todoroki said, staring him down. You remember everything. Izuku nodded, biting his lip. I remember tripping on something at the mall, but I can't remember anything else. I must have passed out. And then I woke up as a kid. Izuku paled. They're gonna ask me if I sympathize with the League of Villains, and I can't say no. I meant what I said. I mean, it matters more now that I'm older and I can offer the League more, but everything I said still applies, and oh my god, I just admitted I might be a traitor to you, and I'm so sorry. Izuku, calm down, Shoto ordered. Izuku froze. It's going to be okay. You have to calm down so you can figure out how you can talk your way out of this rationally. You're brilliant, and you'll think of something, okay? Izuku took a deep breath and nodded. Shoto smiled softly, and Izuku shifted in place, a little bit dizzy. Why are you helping me? Izuku asked as the lightheadedness from hyperventilating faded a little. I'm basically a villain now. Because you're the reason I remembered why I wanted to be a hero. You saved me. Izuku blinked at the familiar words. Shoto had said that during the night Izuku had visited him at the bar. The way you talked about their goals, and the way the League centered around you. I know I'll want to be on your side. You've shifted something for them. And even as a little kid, what you were saying made sense to me. Mismatching eyes burned into his, and Izuku couldn't even blink. I tried imagining an older you making the same speech, saying the same things, and I could picture it. You saying we needed to save people whether we were called heroes or not. About making the world better for the people who aren't saved by heroes because they're not the same as everyone else. All of it sounded so much like the Midoriya that was my friend. I knew that even if you went back to your older self, there was no going back. Izuku swallowed and nodded stiffly. What are we going to do? Izuku whispered. We're going to talk to the heroes, and we're going to go back to UA. And we're going to stay there until we see Shigaraki again. When we do, we run as fast as we can. Izuku choked, and then laughed, gasping for breath as he leaned forward. I'm glad you two are getting along. Izuku calmed himself and looked to see the face of Detective Tsukauchi. I'm Detective Tsukauchi, Midoriya. Tsukauchi nodded to him, and Izuku held out a hand to shake. He decided to play dumb, sort of. We met before. You came to see All Might after the USJ, and I don't know if I introduced myself then. I'm Midoriya Izuku. The detective shook his hand, a tiny frown in place. So, Midoriya, do you remember where you've been the past few days? The detective asked, sitting down. Your classmates reported you missing. Izuku blinked. Oh, I didn't know that. It was true. He'd thought it was his mom when he hadn't come home, although Shoto mentioned Uraraka had looked for him. What were you and Todoroki discussing? The detective gave a smile, but Izuku knew what he was asking. He mentioned going back to UA, and he made a joke that if we see Shigaraki again, we run as fast as we can. Izuku answered easily. Shoto smiled on his left. It was true, Shoto had said it. I see. What brought Shigaraki up? The detective pressed. I asked what we were going to do now, as in what the plans were, Izuku replied, answering as cautiously as possible. When I first woke up, I panicked, and Shoto helped calm me down. I like having plans. All true, Izuku thought smugly. I see. Do you know what's been going on recently? No, though I presume it had something to do with heroes. Big news is always heroes, and I'd also guess the League of Villains. Izuku tried not to grin at the detective's sigh. Midoriya, Did you know you spent multiple days with the League of Villains and joined them on a raid of a hero base? No, Izuku answered immediately, blinking in surprise. The mountain was a hero base? Seriously? Tomura? The detective sighed. Can you tell a lie for me to make sure my quirk is working? What is your quirk anyway? Izuku asked, tilting his head. I'm sorry, I've informed you before, so it slipped my mind. His voice was bland, and Izuku wondered if the slip was really accidental. My quirk is called True Man, and it allows me to tell when someone is lying. Izuku sighed rather dramatically. A lie, you said? The man nodded at Izuku's question. Well, I'm Todoroki Shoto, son of Endeavor who loves his father very much. Shoto choked and covered it badly with a hacking cough, and Izuku grinned at him. Thank you. My quirk is definitely working. The detective sighed. Izuku tilted his head again. So, why are you looking for lies, Detective Tsukauchi? Izuku narrowed his eyes in mock suspicion. Is this an official police interview? The man nodded tiredly. Yes, I am to check if you have any memory of joining the League of Villains as a 7-year-old. Izuku blinked at the wording. The League did not exist when I was 7 years old, as far as I can recall. Izuku admitted. It was true. I think I'd remember being an aspiring hero and joining a villain group that young. Izuku raised a challenging eyebrow, and the man's lip twitched. Can you tell me your relationship with Shigaraki Tomura? Izuku paused, Shoto stilling beside him. He attacked me at the USJ, and in Hosu, Stain told me that Shigaraki had shown him a picture of me, and said that I was an enemy or something. Izuku shrugged. He's a villain, and I'm a hero student. Do you want more? The detective looked exhausted and frustrated. Do you feel sympathy for the League of Villains? Do you have any plans to join them? I feel sympathy for them. They're villains, and they're bringing all of Hero Society down on their heads by targeting UA and their students, Izuku said seriously. However, I have no plans to join the League of Villains, and for you to accuse a hero student like that is an insult to UA High School. It was true. Accusing a hero student was an offense to the school, in Izuku's opinion. On top of that, Izuku had no plans because he had no idea where Tomura was, except... The only thing you might even call a plan is what I was talking about earlier with Shoto. If we see Shigaraki Tomura, we run, Izuku added, crossing his arms a little dramatically. The detective placed 2 fingers on his forehead in exasperation. What is the last thing you remember? The detective settled on when he looked up. Izuku paused to think. Remember? Izuku threw in a question, hoping it'd help confuse the quirk. Questions couldn't ever be lies. I went to the mall with my class, Izuku said firmly. He did. He went to the mall. Uraraka left me alone, and I started looking for some wrist weights, but I think I tripped and everything goes black. Izuku finished. The man nodded. After that? I woke up in the hospital, and Shoto was with me, Izuku answered easily. I panicked, as I said, and he calmed me down. Asking the same questions wouldn't work on Izuku. He was ready. Okay, I think I have everything I need. Thank you, Midoriya. The detective climbed to his feet, and Izuku smiled. It was fun talking to you, he said honestly, waving. As the man left, Izuku fought a triumphant grin. He'd done it. He'd lied to a lie detector, and gotten away with it, multiple times. Izuku, how are you not being arrested right now? He turned to see Shoto's huge eyes, disbelief painting them, and Izuku couldn't help it. He burst out laughing, and he didn't stop until all his air was gone, and Shoto was laughing with him. Maybe it would all be okay. Overhaul arc, way in the future. Reunion. Izuku stared at the group in front of him, eyes huge as his eyes drank them in. They were clearly not expecting him, Izuku having tracked them down without their knowledge. Izuku glanced at Shoto, who nodded to him and let go of Izuku's hand. Izuku then stepped forward, green eyes fixed on Tomura and Dabi. He headed straight for Dabi and held out a single hand. The fire user squinted suspiciously, but he took Izuku's hand. Izuku smiled at it, reaching out another hand to run his fingertips across Dabi's knuckles. "Hiya, Dabi." Izuku smiled softly. He looked at Shigaraki, a wobbly smile in place. "Mura, do I look set on fire to you?" Suddenly, he had a face full of Dabi, and Izuku made an oof sound, the man having pulled him into a tight hug. Izuku wrapped his arms around the man and sighed. "You did a real shitty job of explaining at the USJ, Mura." Tomura laughed, and Dabi released him. "Well, we got around to it eventually." Tomura smirked at him, and Izuku chuckled. "Oh yeah, your master plan. Shrink your favorite enemy and then adopt his 7-year-old self for a few days." Izuku rolled his eyes sarcastically. "Damn, I can't believe I fell for it." Shoto came over, standing nearby and clearly with them but not invading their space. "Hello, Izuku." Compress smiled at him. Izuku's eyes immediately zoned in on his arm and stepped forward suddenly, taking the metal monstrosity in both hands. "You're hurt," Izuku whispered. His arm was completely gone, replaced by a shoddy metal replica. "Who did this?" Overhaul. The same time we lost Big Sis Magne." Compress sounded like he was trying for his usual dramatic cheer, but he was failing. "I should have smashed his face harder when I had the chance." Izuku's fingers tightened on Compress in anger towards Overhaul, and he froze as Tomura's 3-finger grasp touched his shoulder. He released Compress and leaned back into Tomura's side. "Sorry, Mura." Compress. Shoto seemed to smother a laugh, and Izuku turned a little to stick his tongue out at the boy. "Don't be sorry, Izuku." Tomura called his attention back, a grin present even in his voice. "I'm glad you're back." Izuku snickered as he straightened. "Aw, did you miss my endless quirk ranting and maniacal planning?" Dabi swatted his shoulder, and Izuku laughed. "You were a freakishly smart 7-year-old, Spinner put in. "A real hero." Izuku snorted. "Definitely. I'm defecting from UA, dragging my best friend behind me, and joining the most feared villain group in all of Japan." Izuku turned to the lizard mutant sarcastically. His eyes then softened. "I missed you too, Spinner." "Izuku!" Toga hopped in place. "You're big now. So cute. You were cuter as a 7-year-old. Izuku sighed. "Toga, if you're crushing on me." "I'm not, silly." The girl giggled. "I found someone else. Ochako and I are the very same." Toga made a wistful noise, and Izuku laughed nervously. "Oh, by the way, I brought Shoto," Izuku said, gesturing to the boy. "We're keeping him. He's mine." "Seriously?" Dabi groaned. "Why him?" Izuku glanced back to smile at Shoto, and then blinked as the boy stepped forward to wrap his arms around Izuku's shoulders from behind. "As Izuku said," Shoto said, placing his chin in Izuku's curls. "I'm his." Toga squealed dramatically as Dabi's mouth dropped open in blatant shock, and Izuku laughed fondly. "All right then. So what now?" Izuku looked at them all, finally feeling whole again for the first time since returning to his proper age, and he smiled. He was finally back where he belonged. All right, listeners. This concludes the fic entitled Little Izuku and the League of Villains. This fanfic has always had a special place in my heart. It's one of the ones that I've just really enjoyed since I first got into the fandom, and it was so much fun to record it for the first time, but I really enjoy doing the re-recording of this, and I hope you all enjoyed it as well. I would love to hear your thoughts and reactions, so drop your comments for me. Let me know what you thought. Just a reminder that this fic, as well as all the ones so far on this channel, are located over on AO3, so you could always slide over, leaving comments, kudos, and support to the original author. I'm sure it's much appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.